Move forward slightly. Ready? Ready, go.
Good evening. Welcome to the webinar for the LLM MA in Human Rights at Birkbeck College. My name is Bill Bowring. I'm a professor in the School of Law. I've actually been here for 13 years. And what I'm going to do is tell you, first of all, something about Birkbeck College and the School of Law, and then about the Masters in Human Rights. First of all, a word about myself. I'm Professor of Law here. I have a particular interest in Russia and the former Soviet Union and human rights there. I'm also a barrister in practice, and I've taken over the years a lot of cases to the European Court of Human Rights against Turkey, Russia, and other countries. And that actually, as I'll say in a few minutes, is one of the modules that will be available to you on the program if you join us. I'm also very heavily involved in human rights activism through a number of non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and in particular, for many years I've been involved with the Redress Trust, which works for reparation for torture survivors. I founded back in 2003 the European Human Rights Advocacy Center, which takes a lot of cases against countries of the former Soviet Union to the European Court of Human Rights. I'm a founder and a member of the Human Rights Committee of the Bar of England and Wales, and I'm also a trustee of Lawyers for Palestinian Human Rights. And so what I try to bring into this particular program is my experience, and also giving opportunities to students to help them with finding internships or volunteering in order to get an entry into the human rights activism world if that's something they're interested in. But I'm also supervising research students, and 5 of my PhD students have graduated over the past year. And so I'm also in every day, and my door is basically open, so I see people. A few words about Birkbeck College. We were founded in 1823 by George Birkbeck as a mechanics institution, and it was a really revolutionary development. It was the first time that there was a academic institution where working people in London could study for higher education. And we've been going strong ever since. And we are the evening education part of University of London. Actually, we're situated here right next to Senate House, which is the headquarters of University of London. So we're one of the colleges of University of London, and you graduate with a University of London degree. And Birkbeck itself, we've tried over the years to maintain our progressive mission. And when we have big decisions to take, we ask ourselves, what would George Birkbeck have to say about this? So we are really very distinctive. The law school here at Birkbeck has been going for the last 25 years, and our founder was Professor Kostas Douzinas, and he, in fact, has been for the last several years a member of the Greek Parliament, but he lost his seat in the last elections in Greece. He's back teaching with us, and he's actually teaching one of the compulsory modules on the Human Rights Masters, History and Philosophy of Human Rights. And he is a very charismatic and eloquent lecturer. If you join the program, that is one of the modules that you have to take. The regular Human Rights Masters, it's an LLM MA. That means that you choose at the end of the program whether you graduate with a LLM, which is a Master of Laws, or with an MA, which is a Master of Arts. That is your choice, whichever one is going to suit you better for your future career. We teach in 2 terms, from October till December and from January till March. and you have to do 6 modules altogether, one of which can be a research project. That's your choice. You're highly recommended to do a research project if you want to go on further in academia, that is, if you want to take a research degree after your master's. There are 2 compulsory modules. The one I just mentioned with Professor Kostas Douzinas, that's History and Philosophy of Human Rights. And I teach the other compulsory core module, which is called Issues in International Law and Human Rights. And I teach that with my colleague, Dr. Kojo Korum, who's recently edited a remarkable collection on the war on drugs and the color line, also a very charismatic teacher. As well as the regular masters taught in autumn and spring terms, we also run an intensive masters, or it should be called an accelerated masters. And each module, instead of being taught over 10 weeks, is taught in 1 week. And if you take the intensive, it is 2 weeks in March and 2 weeks in June, and then writing a research project. And the format is that you come in every day, Wednesday to Friday, and then Monday and Tuesday of the following week. And it's either a morning or an afternoon for each module that you have to take. And I should say that the intensive or accelerated modules are also available to students on the regular program. So you can take 1 or 2 intensive modules, and we have a different range of modules on the intensive program. We bring some very inspiring teachers in from abroad for that one. So the program, you can either take it in 1 year or in 2 years. And when you look at the application form online, you'll see that 1 year is called full-time and 2 years is called part-time. What that means is you still have to do the same number of modules. If you take the program in 2 years, then it's a bit more relaxed. You won't be coming in for more than a couple of evenings a week. The teaching is between 6 and 9. The classes are 1.5 hours each. I have to teach back on a Monday evening, but mostly you'll be coming in for 1 or 2 evenings a week for an hour and a half between 6 and 9. So I've mentioned already the compulsory core modules. We actually have, at the present time, 7 master's programs running at Birkbeck. And they are the LLM Constitutional Politics, Law and Theory, LLM MA Criminal Law and Criminal Justice. There's an MSc in Criminology because we have very strong criminology department as part of the law school here. We have an MSc in Global Criminology, my program, the LLM MA in Human Rights, an LLM in International Economic Law, Justice and Development, and the LLM Law General. That means that there are between 36 and 40 modules from which you can choose for the 4 modules that you have to take to make up your 6 altogether. And so I'll just give you a flavor of what is available. Now, it changes a bit from year to year and time of year, and that's because as academics, we have the right every so many years to a sabbatical, usually of 1 term. And so some colleagues will be on sabbatical. That means that not every program, not every module will run. Just to give you a flavor, we have a module on healthcare and human rights. I teach a module on international rights of minorities. There's usually a module on cultures of rights taught by my amazing colleague, Eddie Bruce Jones, from New Jersey in the United States, has fluent German, was an anthropologist before he was a lawyer, and his doctorate is from the Humboldt University in Berlin. We have advanced contemporary issues in Islamic law, theory and practice. We have land law and dispossession, law post-colonialism and political economy, race, crime and justice, race, law and literature, a module on social justice, a module, for example, on youth justice. So there is a very wide choice within the law department, indeed within the law school, of modules that you can take in consultation with me as director of the program, in addition to your 2 compulsory modules. I mentioned my own involvement in human rights activism, and I'm very proud of the fact that 2 of the modules we teach are taught with leading non-governmental organizations. So this term and in a year's time, I'm teaching International Rights of Minorities, and that's taught with Minority Rights Group International, which is the leading research and advocacy organization. The module is taught with them. That means that they come in and do 2 of the seminars out of 9. And this term, for example, we've had a young person from Minority Rights Group International coming in to tell us about their work with indigenous peoples in the Congo. Later on, we'll have somebody coming in to talk about their work on slavery in Mauritania, slavery based on ethnicity. And then next year, I'll be teaching a module called Taking a Case to the European Court of Human Rights. That is taught with the AIR Center, Advice on Individual Rights in Europe. And also they come in to take 2 of the seminars. What is very nice about that module is that we work on a live case before the European Court of Human Rights, one of the cases in which the AIR Center is involved. And the students have a go at drafting the application to the European Court of Human Rights, the government observations on the application. When I started teaching this some years ago, I thought that only people with a law background would want to do it. But in fact, on the program, on the Masters in Human Rights, more than half of the students don't have a law background. They come from science and a range of other disciplines. And what I've found is that the students who most enjoy the clinical course, as it were, clinical module, taking a case to the European Court of Human Rights, are the people who don't have a law background and really enjoy trying their hand at drafting and seeing what it's like actually getting involved with the European Court of Human Rights. I think this makes our program here unique. I don't know of any other program with such a close engagement with leading human rights NGOs. You'll be pleased to hear that we have some rather distinguished graduates. 5 graduates are working in Amnesty International. One of our graduates is the senior lawyer in the Howard League for Penal Reform, working on prison reform. Another one of our graduates is the senior human rights lawyer at Justice, which is a leading human rights NGO. And in fact, Birkbeck graduates are to be found in a very wide range of human rights organizations, international organizations. We have good contacts in the Council of Europe, in the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE. And the people coming to take the masters, some of them are practitioners, barristers and solicitors, wanting either to strengthen their knowledge or to change course. We have people working in the field already in NGOs. We have people working for government. And most importantly for me, we have people from all over the world. When we do induction every October, it's like a mini United Nations. Presently, about 50 students on the human rights program here at Birkbeck. So I will stand ready to take your questions if you have any questions you would like to ask me. Very good question. So Martha Flynn, oh, hi Martha. Okay, I've already spoken to you. When will we be able to enroll once we've accepted our offer? So I hope you've been made an offer after we spoke the other morning, and enrollment will be happening between now and October. We're encouraging people to enroll as soon as possible. The site will tell you when you're able to enroll, and once you've enrolled, then you will have access to our websites. I should say that the teaching means that in addition to the classes for an hour and a half that we're running once a week, that we also use Moodle as our electronic learning environment. We place a lot of materials on Moodle which are available for you to read. I myself also use handouts every week and often also PowerPoint. Next, good evening and thank you. Are the modules you mentioned available also for intensive master students? No, somebody who's just on the intensive masters, their arc of learning, as we call it, they will enroll by January. The Moodle web pages will be open to them and they start reading. But people taking the intensive masters, they are just coming in for the 2 weeks in March and 2 weeks in June. So while it's possible for students on the regular masters to take intensive modules in March or in June, people who are just coming in for the 4 weeks in March and June, of course, as I said, the regular modules will be taking place in the autumn term and the spring term. And the majority of people taking the intensive masters actually are people who are based outside of the UK, don't want to come to London for a whole year because of the expense and visas and so on. And that enables people to come in just for the 4 weeks of teaching in March and June. Hope that answers. Could you speak briefly about studying part-time, please? It's almost all of our students are working during the day. And I've been really impressed this term that teaching on the issues in international law and human rights, we have 44 students, so 2 classes of 22. And myself and Dr. Kojo Goram split this between us. And the students, all the students have 4 weeks of me and 4 weeks of Kojo. There's a lot of recommended reading. And we are just so impressed by the way that students manage to do so much reading as well as holding down a job during the day. And at the beginning of every seminar, I ask people what they have been able to read. For myself, I have quite a long commute and I always carry photocopies of articles I want to read and books with me to read as I'm traveling. And I'm always so impressed by the way that Birkbeck students manage to combine working, looking after families, and studying in the evening. We have a very good library here. I have an excellent relationship with the law specialist librarian, Wendy Linwood. She buys every book I ask her to buy in the fields which I teach, which are international law and human rights. So we are very good. We have a really fantastic electronic resource, not only quite a number of Oxford University Press books, but most importantly, we have access free electronically to practically all of the English language journals in Britain, the United States, Canada, Australasia, South Africa, and so on. And all of that you can access from home as well as here in London. So once you're enrolled, all of that becomes available to you. And I think it's a unique selling point for our graduates that they are able to say that they managed to get a distinction, and we had a large number of distinctions this year, holding down a job, looking after families, studying in the evening, working at night, and I think anyone looking to employ them will be extremely impressed by having that background. Martha, again, thanks. When are assignments due in after each of the modules? So assessment for all the modules except for the research project, which is 10,000 words. For all the other modules, assessment is a 4,000 word essay. And that is due in, for example, for the students studying from October till December, the assessment is due in January. On my modules, I let the students choose their own title for their essay with approval. And so I'm discussing that with the students on the module at this present moment in time. And they then start researching, and they, of course, can work over the Christmas break. And then the essays will be due in next year. The tutor for the module concerned will be marking the essays, and we then have a system of moderation of the marks, and we have external examiners from other universities who are the final control over the marking. As a matter of curiosity, I'm external examiner at King's College London and at University of Nottingham at the present moment. So there's a system of external examining. Hope that answers Martha's question about when the assignments are due. And what I do, if people who decide to do a research project, they may have a supervisor in mind, or I sort out a supervisor for them, and that will be close supervision then over the writing of the research project. With the assessment for the individual modules, the 4,000 word essays, then I approve or my colleagues approve the title. I will also look at the students' outline, that is their section headings, but it's not close supervision. So then they write the essay. I do, however, provide on Moodle, so every student has got it, my 10 commandments or guidance on writing essays for the module. And if you stick to the 10 commandments, then you are going to definitely pass, almost certainly get a merit or a distinction. Any more questions? Right. Sorry, I should have been specific. I meant when would they be due in for the intensive modules? About the same time. So you would have a couple of months in which to write the essay. So the module will take 1 week. Of course, Martha, you're doing the intensive. So, by the way, just to give you a flavor of what is highly likely to be available, Crisis, Conflict and Human Rights Contemporary Challenges. That is taught by a wonderful colleague from Finland. Critical Migration Law, Cultures of Human Rights, Environmental Law and Justice, Hate Crime, Human Rights, Poverty and Development, International Financial Institutions, Law and Practice, Introduction to the Law of International Finance, Issues you have to take, and History and Philosophy you have to take. There's also Law, Colonialism and Political Economy, Law, Post-Development and Critique of Political Economy, Southern Perspectives on Constitutional and Political Transformation, and I mentioned History and Philosophy of Human Rights. So it's a pretty wide menu of choices for you to make on the intensive. Martha, I'm sorry I didn't answer the question more specifically. Does that answer the question now? Meanwhile, yes, thanks, she says. Great. And Doe asks, going back to the modules, are the optional modules that will be available for the intensive? Well, those are the ones I just read out, actually. So your question came in. And so those will be the modules available in March and June of next year. And as I say, I'll be teaching the compulsory module, Issues in International Law and Human Rights, with Kojo Korum, and we will also have a day on business and human rights, which is always of interest. Right, I've been answering questions. Any more questions? Very good to see you here, Martha. Anyway, have you had your letter, by the way, making you the offer? Martha says yes, all good. That is excellent. Yeah, I would expect to have 50 students on the program altogether next year as well. many more than that, and it becomes difficult. And I do believe quite strongly that master's students should be taught in groups of not more than 25 maximum, so that one can get really good discussion. And all of us teach so that we use the 90 minutes in different ways, but most important is that it's completely interactive and that students are participating and we get a really good discussion going. Right. So in the absence, Joe's left the session. Okay, so just to say a couple of words more, if you join the regular masters, then we will have induction at the start. Then you will all meet us, you will meet each other, we'll have a social event. You will learn more about the college and the library and how we do things here. That I always find very exciting, in particular the very wide range of backgrounds and disciplines of the students on the human rights program. And for the people doing the intensive, they have just recently been having an event, and as I say, the learning starts from January, and we will be bringing people together in March at the start of the face-to-face teaching. I've been here 13 years, by the way. It's my fourth institution. So I was at East London for 6 years, 4 years at University of Essex, and I live in Colchester as a result. And I'm still a fellow of the Human Rights Centre at University of Essex. 6 years at University of North London, which became London Metropolitan, and 13 here at Birkbeck. And in many ways, as far as I'm concerned, Birkbeck is academic heaven. Right, unless there are any more questions. So thank you very much for tuning in. I think this will be available actually on YouTube, and there'll be a link to it from the site. So if there's anything you want to hear again, please send me emails if there's any further information you want. Yeah, there's my email there, there's my page, admissions queries, upcoming opportunities to meet us. We have a huge amount going on here, by the way, so it's worth following. So I will answer any questions, if not by return. It's my practice to answer all emails within 24 hours. Thank you for coming along to our webinar. Thanks for all the information, says Martha.